What's up, Blue Devil athletes? Ethan Gavon, baseball coach here. I hope this finds everyone doing well and your family's healthy. I know I speak for all the coaches when I say that I'm really proud of how well you've handled this unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in. I know it's difficult right now, but you'll make the most of it in the long run and you'll come out stronger on the other end. So um, keep learning, keep in touch with each other, keep your spirits high, and keep following the health and safety guidelines because that's what's going to help us get through this quickly and as safely as possible. So I'm going to get rid of my picture here so you can focus on the screen. But I wanted to jump on here and talk with you about the role that process plays in success both on and off the field. So specifically, I want to talk about the importance of having a process-oriented approach. And I'll get this going here. And really, my goal for the presentation is not only for you to have a better understanding of what these concepts mean and why they're important, but also to give you some ideas to improve your own process and give you a better chance at chasing down your goals and having success. I think this topic is a really good follow-up to Coach Yanker's great presentation last week because your guiding principles, your core values, your definition of success, and the things that make up your why are also what drive your athletic journey, and that's what drives your process. So in the baseball program, one of the things that we work on is clear communication, and I think a really important part of that is using the same quote unquote language. So before I get too far ahead of myself, let's start by defining a few key terms that we're going to use throughout and making sure that we're on the same page with our terminology. The first thing I wanted to nail down is just a working definition of process, which you can see on the screen here. So when I say process throughout the presentation, I'm talking about a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end or a particular result or outcome. Process is our journey to the outcome. It's our plan. Our process is what we do while pursuing our goals. So in this picture here on the left, you see our players laying down at the start of our practice to work on the mental side of their game because being present and connected is a big part of our team process. Some synonyms that you might be familiar with for process include practice, procedure, preparation, step, system, operation. And as we dive into these concepts a little bit more, I think all of those will make a bit more sense. And so process-oriented approach is an intentional or systematic focus on the steps or the process rather than the outcome or the end result. And that's really, really important. And we'll start to dive into that. In this next part, I really want to talk about why it's so important to have a process-oriented approach and why it's so important to focus on the process instead of the outcomes. And plain and simple, it's just about putting your energy and your focus into what you can control. A process-oriented approach, it's about your behavior, it's about your choices, it's about your decision-making. Ultimately, it's about taking ownership over your athletic career and what do you want to do with it. There's a really great saying that I love and I wish I knew where it originated, but it goes, master yourself and the opponent no longer matters. I think this is a really great slogan for process, and it reminds us to keep our focus inward on ourself. What you control is yourself and your behavior, and when you focus on mastering that, you eliminate all the distractions and the drama that interfere with achieving what you're capable of. And when you do that, you can just go out and compete with confidence and without doubts, knowing that you've done everything in your power to put yourself in the best position to get the result that you want. So you do control what you do, how often you do it, and how much effort you put into it. You don't control every variable that leads to the end result, and you don't control the outcomes or the results themselves. So, as an athlete, you can do everything right and still not experience the outcome that you desire, right? You can run or swim a personal best and still not win the race. You can throw a perfect pitch and still have it called a ball. A defender in basketball or soccer can play perfect defense and still have the shooter make a circus shot. In football, you can run a perfect route, make a perfect catch, and have it negated by a holding call. And, should we feel bad about our outcomes or all these outcomes because all of them are negative? Well, no, because in every situation, the player controlled what they can control. And that's just the way sports are. And that's a big part of why we love sports so much, because it's not always predictable. The team that is the best on paper doesn't always win. Things don't always go your way. The ball doesn't always bounce your way, as the saying goes. So another big reason why being process oriented is so important in athletics is because the habits that we build in training and preparing, that's what we fall back on when competition gets tough, right? When the going gets tough and game or competition speeds up, we're automatically going to fall back on our habits and the patterns of behavior that we've created for ourselves. So a question you should all consider is whether you're okay with the habits that you're building now showing up in the biggest moments of your athletic career. So obviously, the more you put in, the more you're going to get out, and we'll get into some of the detail-oriented stuff in a little bit. And I'm definitely going to mess up how to play this video. I thought it would be interesting to listen to some of the all-time greats from our generation talk about being process-oriented and what it means to have a process-oriented approach and how important the preparation is. And so you don't have to look hard to find people discussing this, but Coach Nick Saban at University of Alabama, one of the elite college football coaches and just football coaches, period, does a really good job of summarizing what a process-oriented approach is and why it's important. So have a listen here.
Well, the process is really what you have to do day in and day out to be successful. We try to define, the standard that we want everybody to sort of work toward, adhere to, and do it on a consistent basis. And the things that I talked about before, being responsible for your own self-determination, having a positive attitude, having great work ethic, having discipline to be able to execute on a consistent basis, whatever it is you're choosing to do, those are the things that we try to focus on. And we don't try to focus as much on outcomes as we do on being all that you can be and the things that you need to do to be all you can be. Eliminate the clutter and all the things that are going on outside and focus on the things that you can control with how you sort of go about and take care of your business. And that's something that's ongoing and it can never change. And, so it's the process of what it takes to be successful, very simply.
So I think that does a really nice job of recapping a lot of the things that I've already talked about and why it's so important to focus on ultimately what you can control. And the late, great Kobe Bryant also talks about his preparation and his process. I'm going to have to skip forward a little bit here. to pull this clip up, but he talks about the way he prepares and why he doesn't worry about the
It's
results.
funny. Like, it's, to me, the mentality is a really simple one in the sense that the confidence comes from preparation. So when the game's on the line, I'm not asking myself to do something that I haven't done thousands of times before, right? So when I prepare, I know what I'm capable of doing, I know what I'm comfortable doing, and I know what I'm not comfortable doing. Right? And so in those moments, if it looks like I'm ice cold or not nervous, it's because I've done it thousands of times before. So what's one more time? Michael.
So two really good clips right there, talking about process. And of course, I'm messing up the video. I'll try and get us through to the next page. But process isn't inherently a good thing or a bad thing. And not all processes are created equal, right? So it's possible for you to have a process that's not going to lead to you being successful, even if you have a process-oriented approach. So an extreme version of that would be, if you just sit on your couch and eat junk food all day, that's probably not going to help you get the results you want in athletic competition, and it's probably not the best way for you to prepare. So what are some of the best ways for you to prepare? Just going to highlight 5 keys to building a successful process. I think the most important thing is having a growth mindset, which as opposed to a fixed mindset or an outcome-oriented mindset. This means that you understand that your ability isn't set in stone and that the outcomes are not fixed. So through hard work and learning, you can improve and you can grow. And, a great place to start is by making your goals and definition of success about growth. And that's something that Coach Yanker talked about last week that I really loved in his presentation. Controlling the narrative of what success means is really important. So when you redefine outcomes in terms of things that you can control, so when you change that definition of success to be about growth instead of, wins and losses, you're either going to win or you're going to learn and improve for next time. So I would encourage you all to make your process, your journey, just a never-ending search for a better way. I think Coach Saban mentioned that, and think of success on a continuum that's never ending, right? So you always want to be moving towards the more successful end of things. And getting back to Coach Yanker's presentation last week, he mentioned, incremental success and incremental growth, which a lot of times is the way athletics work. Number 2, another thing Coach Saban mentioned is hold yourself to high standards and well-defined standards. So in our baseball program, we expect our players to demonstrate what we call a BDP attitude, so Blue Devil Pride attitude, and Blue Devil Pride effort at all times. So that's kind of our measuring stick for whether we're going about our business on a daily basis the right way. So a BDP attitude for us is being an energy giver. So bringing a positive attitude to everything that we do. And then a Blue Devil Pride effort means that no matter what we're doing, we do it to the best of our abilities. And so I think you'll find that if you hold yourself to high standards and you have a growth mindset, everything else is going to fall into place. Some other keys that go right along with that are attention to detail. The details win. My baseball guys, they've heard me talk about being an all-the-time player or type of person, meaning do it right all the time. Pay attention to the details all the time. This is really important as it relates to, our habits that we build or what we fall back on when our biggest moments in athletic competition show up, right? When things start to speed up, we're going to fall back on that attention to detail, whether we did it or whether we didn't, because we know if we can't attend to the details in practice when there's no pressure, we're probably not going to be able to do a very good job of being detail oriented when it does matter. And so it's this idea, when I say be an all the time type person, performance, it's not a light switch that you can just flip on and off whenever you want. So your choices, your daily behavior, they create habits that are going to show up in competition. So we don't necessarily rise to the occasion. We perform to the level of our preparation. Number 4, be where your feet are. This one's really important. Right now is what you can control. So, you saw the picture of our guys doing some meditation at the beginning of practice. That's a big part of our process for our baseball team. What we use that for, we take 10 minutes at the beginning of every practice, and we just want to make sure that we're fully present. So, we talked about being outcome oriented and that type of thing, creating distractions and drama. Well, when we come out to baseball, we have a lot of distractions and drama from earlier in the school day, right? It might be something that happened at lunch. It could be a class. There's a lot of other things. So for us, being where our feet are, or when we're lying down, where our backs are, that just means that we're fully present in the moment, and our focus is on what we're doing right now, because that's ultimately all that we can control. And the last one here is, plan it out, write it down, track your progress. So, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind, but if you have an athletic journal, you have a journal where you write down goals and what you've done each day, it's a really nice way to see that the small things that you're doing on a daily basis, those micro wins or getting 1% better, how those really add up over a long period of time. And if you do track what you've done and how it's helping you, now you can improve your process, right? You can say, well, I've been doing this for 3 months and I haven't seen any growth here. So what could I do a little bit different? So just making sure that you're staying on top of it. So those are all 5 keys that I think you could implement into creating a more successful process for yourself. And it goes for both the individual and the team. Lastly, I think, right now we have a unique opportunity where, the busyness of normal life has kind of been put on pause. And, last week, Coach Yanker encouraged you to think about your why. If you've done this, you've already established a strong foundation for your process. And this week, I ask that you use your why to think about and write out exactly what your process is. So how do you plan to achieve your goals, whether it's on an individual basis or as a team? What are you doing right now, given the current environment that we're in, to continue working your process? What needs to change? And ultimately, what do you want your journey to look like, right? Because I can speak to my experience as a baseball and football player for Davis High, long time ago, won a section championship. I don't remember many of the outcomes, so to speak. What I do remember is the journey was with a lot of really good friends who I grew up playing with my whole life. And what I remember is just those small moments, the moments at the beginning of practice or the end of practice where we're doing things as a team. So really, the process doesn't have to always be just about the work and the grind. It's about what do you want to take away from your experience as an athlete, as a Blue Devil, and that's something to think about. Kind of ties in with your why. And ultimately, I think the beauty of maintaining a process-oriented approach and having a process-oriented approach is that, that line of thinking can truly be applied to anything. So whether it's on the field, the track, the court, the course, or anywhere else, your personal relationships, your schoolwork, whatever it might be, I think a lot of this stuff is really useful to think about and start implementing. So I hope it helps you, and I hope everyone takes care during this time. Take care of each other. Can't wait to see everyone back at school and competing again soon. So thanks for listening. And if you have any questions about this presentation or building a process-oriented approach, please don't hesitate to reach out. Here to help.